This is the Sunday stream opening song because the other song is copyrighted. La 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 la. Oh look, here comes Dog Cat Fox.
Hi, Sky.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday stream. The stream I do on Sundays because Sunday is the day to stream on Sundays. Hope you're all doing well on this beautiful Sunday morning. I will confess that I have a bit of a frog in my throat this morning for some reason. So if I sound a little clunky and I have to clear my voice here there, I apologize. But I'll do my best to carry on through. So yeah, I had an interesting adventure yesterday. For whatever reason, I got it into me to try to do a actual video, like not necessarily a scripted video, but more of an edited video, prepared video. I recorded myself reading an article about my very first Twitter follower. Say that 10 times fast. So back in, I think, 2017 or late 2016, whenever I started my Twitter account, the very first person to ever follow me on Twitter, for whatever reason, I don't know to this day if it was just some kind of mass following or a mistake, was a lady named Elizabeth Gore. And she runs a business called Hello Alice. Now, aside from her following me and me following her back, I've never interacted with the lady. I had no idea really what her business was about. I'd see occasional postings from her from like business conferences and like stuff like that, or, you know, panel discussions she'd been on, but I didn't really pay that much attention. Anyway, jump forward all these years later, and she posted an article the other day where her business and her specifically had been interviewed or was involved in the current spate of lawsuits surrounding DEI policies. And I was like, well, I can't pass that up. So I did a video yesterday where I just read the article and talked about the subject matter. And shortly thereafter, and I did advertise it out on Twitter, and I did tag her in the tweet saying, hey, the very first person who ever followed me on Twitter, was in an article, and I looked at it. In the course of reading the article, and certainly in the advertising of it, I never said anything about Mrs. Gore that wasn't said in the article, and I had no comments about her because I don't know her. But I did make comments about the whole DEI grant process and everything. Regardless, she blocked me on Twitter, which was kind of sad. I was like, yeah, okay, all right. But it got me more curious because there's one particular organization or entity out there that I've heard several times now in the recent litigations that have been taking place regarding DEI, and that's something called the Fearless Fund. And so I thought and it was mentioned in the article I read yesterday. So I thought I'd take a little bit more of a look at the Fearless Fund and find out exactly what the hubbub is. Now, based on the information from the article yesterday and some research I've done afterwards, I have an opinion or two about it, and we'll see what the video has to say. But this is a CBS morning segment that interviews the CEO/president, I'm not quite sure what her title is, of the Fearless Fund to talk about the legal troubles that it currently is finding itself embroiled in. But before I get to that, who's joining me on this beautiful Sunday morning? Let's see. We have Keeverdam. Hi, Keeverdam. I don't know if Keeverdam is actually here live. Oh, there she is. Just woke up, she says. All right. Well, hi, Keeverdam. Noah Sencio, good morning. Old Guy Gamer, good morning. Who else is here? Fun Time Bats, good morning. Tier Alexander, the Gentleman Lich, good morning. Woo, I can finally enjoy this in peace. All right, I'm glad. Shortline 819, good morning. Mike R, good morning. Kiro Soldier, good morning. Advocatus Diaboli, good morning. Brittany Holland, good morning. Froggy, Ribbit. Yeah, I particularly I'm a bit froggy myself today, so apologies for that ahead of time. Spoonie the Rebel, good morning. Robert Pincus, good morning. Vader 35, good morning. Who else is here? Keldrig, good morning. Let's see. Keldrig, why don't you have a wrench? Did you not want a wrench? There was somebody who didn't want a wrench. Was that you? I forget now. Tell me why you don't have a wrench. Do you want a wrench? Everyone was so generous on the last TEDx. You know, I'm feeling very, very charitable in wrenches because it's one gift I can give back, sort of. Seftus Wolf, good morning. Ryan R, good morning. Tony Giff, good morning. Who else is here? Little Mo Zizlak, good morning. Michael Sander, good morning. Urcule Di Stefano, good morning. Renovatio, good morning. Frosted Glass, Good morning. Yes, I was able to open up the article and I have it prepped. I'll probably use that after the video. So thank you so much, Frosted. I'll get to that shortly. And I think that's everybody I see. If I missed you, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, good morning. All right. Well, with that being said, this is a very brief video. It's only about 6 minutes long. I did watch like the first 10 seconds of it or something to just out of curiosity. But aside from that, I don't know what else is going to be said. So let's take a look. What is the Fearless Fund? What do they do? And I don't know. What exactly is the legal peril they find themselves in and why? So let me click that. You guys let me know if you can hear this, and then we will proceed.
A first of its kind venture capital firm is fighting a lawsuit over its efforts to help level the playing field for the founders of startups.
Level the playing field for the founders of startups. That sounds very generic, but there's a particular element that you left out of that description. You guys hear it okay? Advocata says, hear it. Lima Charlie says, Tier Alexander. Sounds good, says Mike R. All right. So yeah, founders of startups. But why? Why is there controversy?
According to the Fearless Fund, just 0.39% of VC funding goes to businesses led by women of color.
Which means that all VC funding is racist and or sexist, I guess.
So they started a grant contest.
And by the way, is that percentage correct? I mean, it's coming from the claimant, let's say. So is that true? I don't know. But we'll find out.
So they started a grant contest to change that.
And what was the entrance predication on that contest?
But now they're facing major pushback. They are being sued by a group arguing that the contest is a civil rights violation because it's only open to Black women.
Well, that is the question. I have my own thoughts on that. We'll see what the owner president has to say about it. But before I get to that, holy cats, Derek LaRue. I mean, Daddy Warbucks of the channel. Thank you so much, Derek. Appreciate it as always. I no longer have the words. Your generosity and support is unbound, and I very much appreciate it. And over the last several days, I've attempted to pay forward your generosity in different ways. And so I hope you're having a good Sunday, and thank you for being here. All right, so let's find out what we have.
Fearless Fund co-founder and CEO Arian Simon is here right now. What's up? How you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are
Simone, excuse me.
What do you say? Simone? How do you say? Do you say Simone? Sorry.
Founder and CEO Arian Simon is here.
Oh, Simon. Okay, yeah, okay.
Right now. What's up? How you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are
Simone, excuse me. It's good to see you. You've been good?
Yes, I've been good.
Good. I'm good to have you. Let's jump right in. So you faced tough questions from the judges Wednesday. What was your biggest takeaway?
Okay. Okay, let's. All right, I apologize. That just caught me off guard. Let me back up. Whew. That was that was a sound of displeasure. Let's put it that way. That was a epic sound of displeasure.
You faced tough questions from the judges Wednesday. What was your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway, the opposing counsel compared our program to the whites only sign during segregation.
Okay, well, I mean, fundamentally, you are keeping people out of participating in your grant program on the basis of their race. So, I mean, it's not a one-for-one comparison necessarily, but mechanically speaking, it's not too far off the mark. Also, I like the fact that she's wearing like a Nefertiti necklace. I just noticed that, but okay.
And afterwards, reporters said, how did that make you feel? And I explained that the whites only sign during segregation, one, was used to oppress people.
Well, yes. And
But it was not solving a disparity.
it was not solving a disparity. Well, what about in the minds of those that supported such notions? Solving a disparity. Okay, but here's the thing, and as I've asked this any number of times before, does a disparity inherently indicate an inequity?
The work that we do is actually solving a disparity. We are
solving, okay, a disparity is not inherently a problem. Okay, because one bigger is number. Because one number is bigger than another number does not mean that there is a problem there. That could just be the result of circumstance, life, logic and reality. All right. The fact that there are more male firefighters than female firefighters, there's a disparity there. Is that inherently wrong? Is that indicative of some kind of moral failing? Or is that just the result of the work of firefighters requires a physicality that most women cannot meet? Unless, of course, you start changing the requirements and then putting everybody in danger. But that's a whole New York thing.
You're looking to level the playing field. We're trying to make things equitable and equal. And that's why we do the work we do. But
right. But you're valuing people on the basis of their skin color first and foremost. And again, I've done a little bit of research, not, collegiate level research into the argument against the Fearless Fund. And I'm hoping that they'll get to that. I'll continue as we go.
But I do believe in the same thing that Edward Bloom does. He's on the plaintiff side. And people are like, what's that? And I'm like, I want a world where race doesn't matter too.
Then why do you have a grant program that predicates its participants or its recipients on the basis of race? You're perpetuating the very idea. You're not valuing a business owner on the basis of their product or their business model or their track record or anything else. You're filtering out who has an opportunity on the basis of their skin color. So thank you, Frosted Grass. Racial discrimination is like the One Ring, caused destruction long ago, and now everyone thinks they can wield it to fix things, but it only corrupts. That is a good analogy. That is a very good analogy. Yes, benevolent racism. Now we can turn the tables on the racists by being racist for good, for the good of all. Thank you, Frosted. All right.
He says that's what he wants. I want that too. We're just not there yet.
Well, okay. Both of you can't be right. Okay. Both of you can't be right.
Now, a point was raised, and you bring up the whites only sign. And that's usually coming from those that are critical of affirmative action.
Is it? That's coming from those who are critical of affirmative action. I can't say that it's not been used as a counterpoint to affirmative action, but again, the mechanism is the same. If you are the wrong skin color, your opportunities or what you will receive from someone is already sent out the window. So, okay.
In this, you say that it should be protected by free speech, this contest. And those might argue, well, if you're not a Black woman, then it should not be covered by the First Amendment. What do you say to that?
Okay, I already have my own response to this, but I want to hear what she says. By the way, if I'm pausing a bit more than usual, and I apologize for it, I don't mean to make it more awkward than it already is. It's because I don't know what CBS, their tolerance is for commentary or criticism on their content. So for YouTube's sake, for CBS's sake, and everything else, I have to pause occasionally and give a bit more commentary, even if my commentary is just filler. And I apologize for that, but it's a necessary evil.
Well, the First Amendment does allow us to express our dollars however we choose.
Yes.
And this is also a charitable organization.
Yes.
Never has a charitable organization been prohibited from where they're allowed to donate.
I don't know if... Okay, she says that. I don't know if that's true. I'll take it on faith. I don't know the legal history of charitable organizations, unless of course your charitable organizations are sending money off to like an illegal group overseas. I'll just say, I think there might be some restrictions on that, but.
And they're using, this is the Reconstruction era section 1981 of the Civil Rights Act of 1866.
Which was actually a law that was put in place for non-whites to enter contracts.
Correct. And this is the same law that they're using or foundation for their argument, alliance. Your attorney again said that this was unprecedented, that this was an effort to use that section to force a charity to reverse its message or shut down.
Okay, now for some context, I'm going to read a very brief description of what the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Yes, there was a Civil Rights Act that long ago. The Civil Rights Act of 1866, in relation to contracts, said that any citizen has the same right that a white citizen has to make and enforce contracts, sue and be sued, give evidence in court, and inherit, purchase, lease, sell, hold, and convey real and personal property. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not a legal scholar. I'm not a legal expert, but on the surface level of it, I'm not quite sure how the 1866 Civil Rights Law, as the president of Fearless Fund says, I'm not quite sure how that makes it illegal for a charitable organization to give money where they want to give it, even if their conditions on giving that money run in the face of established civil rights law in spirit and principle and ethics of the country as we're supposed to be living in now. Because here's the thing, mechanically speaking, what the Fearless Fund is doing is no different than if I were to stand in front of two businesses, let's say two bakeries, and I were to say, and they have the same products, they have the same prices, the whole 9 yards, but I say to myself, I'm only going to patronize businesses that have white owners, and that's how I'm going to conduct myself in my life. Now, obviously, there's a word for that kind of thinking. There's a word you might apply to an individual who might profess that kind of thinking. But is that kind of thinking, and is my decision to spend my money where I want to spend it inherently illegal? That's the issue. I'm not sure what the Fearless Fund is doing is illegal, right? Because it's effectively the same thing. They have some money. They have earmarked it to give it to certain businesses based on the skin color of the owners. Now, to me, that kind of thinking is abhorrent. Is it illegal? Not sure. Pretty much, I don't think it is. But does it run antithetical to the spirit of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and even the Civil Rights Act of 1866? Does it run antithetical to the spirit and the principles of how we're supposed to be operating as a society? Because if you heard a story of a nonprofit saying we're only going to give money to white-run businesses, there would be an outcry you would never hear the end of. Would it be illegal? Probably not. Would it be unpopular? Certainly so. Why? Because it's racist. It's inherently racist. But the question of is it legal versus is it ethical are two different things. So from my reading of things thus far, I'm not sure the Fearless Fund has anything legally to fear, so to speak, from the lawsuit. But again, I'm not an expert. I don't know how the courts will decide things. That's my reading of it thus far.
Where are you all at right now in terms of funding and your organization?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that. We have been financially impacted by this litigation. We have missed out on probably anywhere upwards of 8 figures in potential investments that were coming through prior to the litigation. We do not have the same amount of corporate partners that we had prior to litigation on the foundation side.
Well, here's the thing. Whether or not, again, they're in any real legal peril, whether or not they're eventually found to be operating in an illegal fashion, the fact remains that they are operating a racist business. Inherently, admittedly, a racist business. Even if it's benevolent racism, it's racism. And I can understand why investors might want to steer clear of this, because even if they end up, succeeding in their lawsuit, inevitably, the bad PR and the look and even the sense that they're associating with a company that is pushing racist policies, which most DEI stuff is, Yeah. Fortunately, that's becoming unfashionable now. Maybe a decade too late, but it's finally happening.
As well. So right now we are looking for anybody that does believe in DEI and believes in funding programs like this. We're looking for corporations to step up.
So this is part of a bigger and quite simple, actually, conversation going on in this country, right? We all
Quite simple? Okay, what's simple about it?
agree. Everyone recognizes the disparities in wealth and
Most definitely.
access in America. We were just talking about it yesterday, right?
Yes, there are disparities in all things. Are we going to start conflating disparity with injustice? If you're doing that, then you'll never run out of dragons to slay.
So the question is, how do you address those disparities? It sounds like you and Edward Bloom want the same end goal, which
No, she and Edward Bloom do not want the same end goal. Otherwise, she wouldn't be sued right now. If she had a charitable organization that had a grant program and a grant contest for businesses, and the entry requirements to enter this grant contest were a business model or revenue stream or product or something else based on merit and not the skin color of the owners first and foremost, no one would have a problem and she wouldn't be sued right now. But unfortunately, that's not what's happening. You both want the same things. No, that's literally not true. And I use literally, I believe, in the correct sense.
is no one's considering race. The question is, how do you get
How do
to
you
that?
get there?
How do you get there, right? What do you say to people who believe the way to get there is not more discrimination, right? The way to end discrimination is to stop discriminating in all cases, including one like this.
The issue is that when you take away race-conscious programs, race does get left behind.
Tautology is tautology. You're right. You're right. If you remove race as a factor of assessment in someone's worthiness, you do leave race behind. What am I missing something? Okay. Keep going.
And that is the issue.
That is no. That is the goal. It's not an issue. That is presumably the goal, that we leave race behind. We do not have race as a value factor in opportunity or prosperity in this country when it comes to, giving money away or patronizing a business or giving a job offer. Why do you need race to come along with you? I guess would be my responding question. Why is race so important to you?
Studies have proven that anytime there are emphasis and programs focused on things that are race conscious, that disparities are being solved for.
You're right. You're right. If you set aside merit and you just look at aesthetics and say, we don't have enough of the right looking people here, let's get more of the right looking people here, regardless of their personal character, regardless of their personal merit, regardless of their skills or abilities or output or anything else. You're right. You will solve for disparities. But is that just?
But when you remove it, that the numbers shift.
Are you
Does that
thinking?
mean-
Oh, go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was going to say, are you thinking about a workaround at this point?
Are you thinking about a loophole? Are you thinking about a California solution to not being allowed to practice DEI?
Because let's just say you had $20 million. It's your money. You can give it to whomever you want to.
It's true. That's true. What if I had $20 million and I said I'm only going to give it to German nationals who are white? And?
Are we thinking about a workaround? At this point, we, of course, are still definitely defending our stance.
We haven't given up yet. We're still going to try to be racist.
Are there other ways for us to continue to do work? That is correct. But what we do not want to take place is for it to be illegal for us to do what it is that we do, which is.
Yeah, and again, I'm not quite sure that the 1866 law is going to make it illegal. But even if it's not illegal, it's still racist. It's inherently racist. And that fact alone should make anybody wanting to invest in this organization either now, certainly in the past. This is the thing. And I was talking with Sister Scribe about this yesterday. It's not as if all the DEI stuff, pardon me a second, I'm going to have to cough. Excuse me. It's not as if all the DEI stuff suddenly became legally or ethically questionable in the last, say, year since the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action back in June of 2023. It's not like it just, a switch was flipped and suddenly now we have to think about it in a legal sense or in an ethical sense. It's always been legally questionable. It's always been ethically questionable. It's amazing and it's bizarre to see the chickens coming home to roost as they are in the last, say, 9 to 10 months or so. Especially as someone who's followed this stuff for years and been asking the question, how does this keep going on? How do you keep getting away with it? Why is this legal? Why is this accepted? So, as I've said before, it's kind of gratifying in a way to finally see people really asking these very simple questions about things that are pretty obvious to me. But it's still bizarre to watch people try to defend it. You know, when the veil has been lifted, or at least is starting to be lifted finally, seeing people flailing around trying to defend objectively racist initiatives, whether or not they're illegal or become illegal in future court decisions, is funny. If you replace our speaker with a white man from the 1950s defending his right to spend his money at white businesses because XYZ PDQ, the argument's exactly the same. You know, it may not be illegal, but it's certainly something to take a look at, right? Thank you, Frosted Glass, again. When an 1866 law is more progressive than you, well, at least on the surface, sure. But then we're only talking about surface level considerations. So yeah. But besides which, it's like a Civil Rights Act of 1866. Just kind of, you know, because the term civil rights in my mind has always been sort of seared as dealing with the most progressive racial equality movement of, you know, at least my parents' lifetime, at least before my lifetime. And so when I hear Civil Rights Act of 1866, it seems like that seems a bit anachronistic, but it all builds up over time, right? We are an evolving country. Our Constitution is an evolving document. So anyway.
Which is why we have to maintain our stance.
It's a big test case. That's why it matters nationally. It's a big test case. But so then what you're saying is that you imagine a future that you are pushing towards with this program where your program would not actually be necessary because everybody would just get what they deserve based on their talent.
Okay. I don't know if our interviewer here planned this, but he's putting her into a logic trap because we're not talking about talent, right? We're not talking about talent. Talent is, at best, a tertiary consideration because you have to be black and you have to be female to qualify for this grant. Talent, no, we care about talent later on. Okay, I'm going to back up. I just want to hear that one more time because he's putting her in a very interesting place with his question. So let me back up a little bit.
It's a big test case. That's why it matters nationally. It's a big test case. But so then what you're saying is that you imagine a future that you are pushing towards with this program where your program would not actually be necessary because everybody would just get what they deserve based on their talent.
One more time.
One more time. We're gonna celebrate. Oh, yeah. All right, we'll start the dancing. Okay, my pause game, man. One more time. What? That okay? I didn't think it was that. I think it was that complicated a question, but okay, restate that.
You say you and Ever Bloom are going for the same end goal, right?
Correct.
Right, which is a place where race does not factor into people's level of wealth, level of success, level of access. How long do you think it will take till we get to that place? Are we?
No, dude. Your question was exactly right the first time. How long will it take? Oh, for crying out loud. Unfortunate, but okay.
There.
What was that? Woo! What? This lady is something else.
Does not factor into people's level of wealth, level of success, level of access. How long do you think it will take till we get to that place? Are we halfway there?
It will take trillions of dollars to move the needles in these statistics.
Trillions of dollars. Trillions of dollars to move the needle on these statistics. So it's practically impossible, is what you're saying.
Women of color represent over 20% of the U.S. population while receiving a fraction of percent of funding.
Okay, all right. And so you should receive funding just for being there? See, here's the thing. That doesn't have any reflection on someone's talent. That has no reflection on someone's passion. That has no reflection on someone's skill. Nothing. What does someone's skin color and or gender, combined or individually, say about their potential to be a successful business owner? I mean, seriously, that's the argument that she's making. Simply for existing within one or two combined demographics, trillions of dollars need to be just handed over? No questions asked?
It's going to take trillions of dollars to get to a place where we are equitable and equal. But if we can get there, I'm here for it.
Of course you are, because you're the recipient of that money. Okay, that was the best that she had, huh? All right.
It's super interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I admit it. I confess, it is interesting. It's very interesting. That's her best pitch. All right.
We're just trying to run the race, and there's such a far lead, which is what we are trying to address, that disparity.
Yeah, okay. I've talked about this before. When the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was finally, made into law, there was a not unreasonable consideration for the fact that the laws as they had existed prior to that point had hamstrung and oppressed and restricted people of color in this country for generations. And so now that the law exists and we have a starting point where from this point forward it's illegal to practice things in this way, great. But there is a sense that, we need to make up a little bit for lost time. We need to try to make up for lost time, right? Now that we've recognized officially that we've been making mistakes and doing bad things for years and years and years and years, there is a sense that there needs to be a time, a little bit of an insulatory time, where we ease the road in order to try to make up for what has been gone on in the past. And that was part of the argument of the affirmative action debate back in 2022, 2023. I think it was either Ginsburg or I forget who it was. It was one of the female justices who, during an affirmative action argument many years ago, said something to the effect of that affirmative action should probably go on for maybe 25 years before it's cut off in order to try to, still build up some of those opportunities that might have been restricted or left behind by previous laws and previous generations. But at some point, it's got to stop. Otherwise, you're just continually violating the law and you're just implementing racism and discrimination against the whole point of it. There has to be a line where you say, we need to not do this anymore. That the time period in which to try to mend the wounds in some way has to stop, and we actually have to start enforcing the law as it's written. Otherwise, the whole principle and the whole idea of the thing goes by the wayside, and why even have the law in the first place? Why have Title VI, and the 14th Amendment, and Title VII, and so on? If you're just going to casually violate the law, because reasons, then the law is defunct. And that's part of the issue here, is that, for a period of time, for the last several generations, okay, I can kind of see easing the lanes, so to speak, in different places. You kind of have to sort of grit your teeth, turn your head away, and just kind of let it happen a little bit to try to feel better about things. But how long does it go on? Now, again, and it's got 15 seconds on this, so I'll let them play it out.
If this does go to the Supreme Court, do you have what it takes to take this fight that far?
We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. If it goes to the Supreme Court, we will have to defend our stance. We won't have a choice.
Aaron, Simone, thank you so much.
We'll
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
High stakes. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And again, I'm not sure that the Fearless Fund is doing anything illegal. From my layman's reading of the 1866 Civil Rights information, I'm not sure what they're doing amounts to some kind of contract violation based on race. Mechanically speaking, it's no different than someone with money in their wallet, an individual, walking down the street and saying, I'm only going to give my money to businesses based on the race, based on the gender, based on the religion, et cetera, and so forth, of the proprietor. And while, we might find that kind of thinking abhorrent, those of us that aren't, racist or sexist or, religiously discriminatory or anything, it's not illegal. It's not illegal to spend my money where I spend it. A fool and their money are soon parted, as it were. If I decide to make a ridiculously dumb investment, if I decide to spend my money in a frivolous, stupid, or mean-spirited way, I can be held to account for that socially, perhaps. I can be thought of in a particular way for acting in that fashion, but I'm not breaking the law necessarily. So that's where I'm at. I don't think the Fearless Fund ultimately has anything to fear from the law, unless there's some other element to this that I'm just not aware of. But that does not free it from the fact that it is operating in a racist fashion. So that's I think I've said that enough times. But in addition to that little clip from CBS Good Morning, thank you, Frosted Glass, for providing me with a link, and I'm going to change things around here a little bit to make the article a bit more visible. Thank you so much for giving me the link to this article as I rearrange things here. And how about that? There we go. So this article, again, provided by Frosted Glass. Frosted Glass has his own YouTube channel, by the way. You can check out Frosted Glass on YouTube. And Frosted Glass, since you have a wrench, by all means, put a link to your YouTube channel in the chat. Let's see. So let's take a look at this. Why court blocked Fearless Fund designed to help Black women? And this comes to us from Medium. Oh, yes. Second only to perhaps TEDx for a font of amazing opinions and ideas and concepts and news. This is from October 3rd of 2023, so just a few months ago. I imagine someone running before the whistle is blown and claiming after they win the race that it was fair, and instead of intervening, the referee and onlookers remain silent. Okay, that is what it is like to be a Black woman in America. While many people endorse the meritocracy myth, we're clearly running on uneven pavement. In our country, Black women face a quote-unquote double gap in pay. Oh, intersectionality? Negatively impacted by racial and gender wage disparity. Disparity, not inequity. If pursuing the so-called American dream were a race, then misogynoir. Oh man, misogynoir. That was a term that came up in one of my earliest YouTube videos. The first time I ever heard that term. And it's in a video I titled 50 Shades of Burnt Sienna. And it was an amazing little trip into self-hatred and internalized demographic discrimination. It was something else. You can still find it on my channel way back in the day. The sound quality's terrible and the editing's god-awful, but it was one of my early videos. Then misogynoir would be the rocks, pebbles, and spikes impeding their path. Perhaps this is why Black women are more likely Oh, I thought that was a period that it underlined. Sorry. More likely than white men to start their own businesses. They have less to gain by religiously punching the clock and more to gain by creating their own companies. Okay. This is why the Fearless Fund, a collective that provides investment opportunities for women of color, began their work to counter this misogynoir or double discrimination. I double dog dare you. Despite their best efforts to foster equality, the Atlanta-based 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals Court decided to temporarily halt or block the Fearless Fund's grant program, quote, which awards $20,000 to businesses that are at least 51% owned by Black women, among other requirements, unquote. As soon as you have a racial test, all the other requirements are pretty much irrelevant. As soon as you test the worthiness of someone on the basis of something that says nothing about their character, their ability, or anything else, and especially skin color, given this country's history, you're not perpetuating anything other than racism. And just turn that around. What if it said, which awards $20,000 to businesses that are at least 51% owned by white men, among other requirements? Would that be... Again, I want to make it clear. I'm distinguishing here between illegality and ethicality, if ethicality is even a word. What the Fearless Fund is doing may not be illegal, ultimately, but in my opinion, they are unethical in the way that they're proceeding. Thank again, Frosted Glass. Film misogynoir, detectives who hate black chicks. Oh, man. Thank you, Frosted. So why did they block the Fearless Fund, which provided financial support to Black women? Edward Blum, a conservative activist representing the American Alliance for Equal Rights, ironic name, right? Not really. Oh, I have to create an account to read the full story. Oh, Frosted, I'm sorry. Apparently I don't have an account for Medium. Oh, no. Oh, well, I'll get this much in. Let's see. So why did they block the Fearless Fund? Edward Blum, a conservative activist representing the American Alliance for Equal Rights. Ironic name, right? It's not ironic. It's ironic that you're saying it's ironic, actually. Claimed the Fearless Fund violated the Civil Rights Act of 1866, prohibiting racial discrimination in contracts. Conservative lawyers claim that a program designed to mitigate the prejudice women of color experience is discriminatory. Well, it's inherently discriminatory. Whether or not it's legally or illegally discriminatory is another question, but it's inherently discriminatory. Their line of attack presents quite a conundrum. Boy, okay. How quickly can I make an account for this thing? Hold on. Pardon me. Sign up with Google. Oh my God. Do I have to make an account for it? Is Frosted Glass going to force majeure me into an account on Medium? Oh boy. Let's see. Uh-huh. Yes. Uh-huh. I have to tell Medium what I'm interested in. Mindfulness, yeah, Android, and Python, sure. Oh, and now I have to pay. Of course. I either do $50 a year or $150 a year. I'm either a member or I'm a friend. Sort of like being an ally or continue with a free account. Oh, it's all the way at the bottom. All the way at the bottom in tiny little print it says or continue with a free account. Okay. There we go. Okay, let's refresh and try this again, shall we? No? No. Am I going to read the whole thing? No. Apparently I can't read it even if I'm... Hold on. All right. This, yeah, members only. Okay, there we go. Hold on. Let me switch tabs here because Medium is being a jerk. So stop that and then present. Okay, we're getting rid of that one. And then we're going to do this one, I think. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Apologies. This is live television. I don't have control over these things. All right, let's back up a little bit. All right. Conservative lawyers claim that a program designed to mitigate the prejudice of women, the prejudice women of color experience is discriminatory. Their line of attack presents quite a conundrum. In recent years, we've seen colorblind racists. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Pardon me a second. Let me wet my palate. In recent years, we've seen colorblind racists use elements of America's first Civil Rights Act and the 14th Amendment to argue against the use of race-based affirmative action policies and diversity scholarships designed to provide equitable opportunities and attenuate the racial hierarchy. They don't provide equitable opportunities. They inherently don't, because they filter people on the basis of their skin color. I don't know why this, individuals of a thinking mind have to be very, very deliberately blind themselves to the cognitive dissonance of what they say in situations like this. You cannot address equity with a racial test. I don't know how much clearer that has to be. Colorblind racists. These bad faith arguments attempt to strip the racial context of policy decisions. Yes, policies should not be based on race, and in the next sentence she mentions Jim Crow. Okay. To strip the racial context of policy decisions, so we must read deeper. When white Americans passed Jim Crow laws, you mean policy decisions that contained a racial context? Okay. Or black codes. Oh, you mean policy decisions that contained a racial context? They sought to segregate private places like restaurants and bars and public places like schools, buses, and trolleys to maintain the racial hierarchy, and that began during the chattel slavery era. Okay, well, you're using the wrong analogy here. Okay. Again, what the Fearless Fund is doing, mechanically speaking, is standing in front of two businesses with a wallet full of money and saying, I'm going to spend my money at the business with the appropriate skin color owner. All right. Having legal policies enforced by the government that restrict who can and cannot do things on the basis of race, that is a separate issue. We're talking about the philosophy behind spending your money on businesses based on the race of the owners, which again might not be illegal, but is inherently unethical. White Americans in general, but Southerners in particular, wanted to keep black people as second-class citizens. Unlike segregationist policies, the Fearless Fund wasn't designed to shun white people. Well, yes, it was. Or put them at a disadvantage. Well, yes, it does. Again, we're talking about two different things here. We're talking about actions undertaken by a government and actions undertaken by a private organization with their own money. Two different things. But doing the exact same thing if you have a racial test. The goal of the Fearless Fund was to mitigate the harm of a racially prejudicial banking system by investing in women of color entrepreneurs. To believe that opportunities reserved for women of color are discriminatory, you must ignore the wide-sweeping disparities in the banking industry, which is primarily owned and operated by white people. That statement alone is just amazingly charged with to believe that opportunities reserved for women of color are discriminatory. I don't have to work very hard after that statement. You must ignore the wide sweeping disparities in the banking industry. Disparities do not inherently indicate inequities, which is primarily owned and operated by white people. Okay, so because the banks you say are owned and operated by white people, therefore they must all be racist because women of color aren't being invested in to the percentage that you think they should be simply on the basis of them being women of color. Okay. In a just society, there would be no marginalized groups. Oh, okay. So you would be fine sitting at a table full of pedophiles or a table full of KKK members. Okay. I mean, if you say so. As a result, it would be illogical to provide any group with any special treatment or programs designed to benefit them. However, when you attack a group that is marginalized twice over for trying to mitigate the discrimination they experience, you are, in essence, leaving spikes in the road. The caucasity or gall of white people to accuse black people of racial discrimination when trying to mitigate the harm white supremacy has caused is shocking. I hate to tell you this, racial discrimination is racial discrimination, no matter who is practicing it. Okay. When Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1866, they did so after the Civil War ended, when millions of formerly enslaved black Americans became free, and a whole slew of white Americans died to achieve that goal, but I suppose we're not going to mention that part, to ensure they would not be discriminated against. The crafters of the bill had no idea that over 150 years later, white conservatives would use the legislation to block opportunities for black women, nor would they approve of this misuse. A, you have no idea what they would approve of or anything else. B, it was meant to eliminate discrimination on the basis of race, one side or the other. And that law was tempered and refined by future laws that superseded it in a lot of ways, both in spirit and in word. So, but yes, no, it is the 1866 law that Edward Blum is leaning on, which again, I'm not quite sure is quite the legal cudgel he might want it to be. Thank you, C. Thomas. This is sounding like my struggle. It's sounding like someone trying very hard to get around the inherent contradiction of their worldview with what they say they're trying to achieve, and trying to make villains out of someone that is pushing for something that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 would probably agree with, at least in spirit. Anyway, it's funny how some conservatives love to call themselves originalists when it's convenient, but are more than willing to take legislation out of context when it fits their worldview. Colorblind racists. In response to the court's decision, the Fearless Fund said, quote, we strongly disagree with the decision and remain resolute in our mission and commitment to address the unacceptable disparities that exist for black women and other women of color in the venture capital space, unquote. Senator Sherrod Brown noted that, quote, in 2022, in the United States of America, you can be turned away at a bank because of the color of your skin, unquote. Okay, and you have civil rights lawsuits against those banks for not providing funds to someone on the basis of their skin color, correct? I mean, that would be the thing to do, because banking institutions are under different laws than, say, an individual or a nonprofit. So they would be violating the law if they were to decide who to give money to on the basis of their skin color, correct? Just asking. Zed the Snarky, thank you so much. I'm starting to think that if the Fearless Fund had a dress code, it would be restricted to clothing provided by Hugo Boss. Jeez. Man, pulling out all the classics here, aren't we? Boy, oh boy. Thank you, Zed. Appreciate it. I mean, this is the best defense so far between the CEO and now this our author here. These are the best defenses, I suppose. His words are a reminder that racial discrimination in banking is not a skeleton in America's closet. It's a living, breathing impediment to equitable opportunities. Well, whatever bank is doing that, sue them. File charges. I mean, don't get me wrong. Where is the EEOC? Where's the SEC? There are laws against banks doing that. If you have evidence of that taking place, they're committing a crime and should be prosecuted. You know, it is illegal and at the very least unethical for a banking institution to deny someone an opportunity on the basis of their skin color. Don't you think? Do not you think? Just last year, a black doctor, Malika Mitchell Stewart, filed a lawsuit against JP Morgan Chase and 2 employees at the bank's Sugarland, Texas branch for refusing her service. Okay. By all rights, good. Good for her. And so it's wrong for a financial institution to deny money to someone simply on the basis of their skin color, you say. I agree. I 100% agree. Now tell me about the Fearless Fund. Black-run firms are, quote, twice as likely to be rejected for loans, unquote, when compared to companies owned by white people. And where are you getting this? Is this a statistics from something? The Guardian, is that it? Okay, hold on. This is an article from 2020 from The Guardian, always a source of, okay, and where are they making it? According to data recently made available from the U.S. Federal Reserve, more than half of companies that have black owners were turned down for loans, a rate twice as high as white business owners. The report found that while black-owned firms were the most likely to have applied for bank financing, less than 47% of these applications were fully funded. Okay, even when black business owners get approved, their rate of failure to receive full financing, is the highest among all categories, more than 10%. So it's all based on race. There's no other factors. This article goes on for a long time. Okay. So all the banks are racist. All right. Well, if the banks are racist and you have proof of that, they're violating the law and you can sue them. There's federal laws against that. As the lady up here, the example of Malika Mitchell Stewart. Here's the thing. I don't take a statistical disparity as inherent proof of an inequity. This number is bigger than this number, therefore sexism, therefore racism. You got to prove it, and you have to have more than just the disparity. But anyway, this means black women and women of color entrepreneurs are at a disadvantage. The only way to turn the system on its head is to start providing women of color with opportunities they are traditionally deprived of. Of course, the irony isn't lost on the black community that conservative claims the Fearless Fund. Of course, the irony isn't lost on the black community that conservatives claim the Fearless Fund is racially discriminatory. It's not a claim, it's a fact. You might want to try to justify it as something otherwise, but it's a fact. It is racially discriminatory. You just said. All the while ignoring the rocks, pebbles, and spikes that make the banking industry a hotbed of racism, sexism, and misogynoir. Providing opportunities to women of color is essential in a banking industry controlled largely by white men. Hopefully, the Fearless Fund will win in the efforts to overcome this latest roadblock. Okay, well, again, it really runs down to this. Is it illegal for a private entity, a nonprofit, an individual, to give their money to a business on the basis of the race of the owners of that business? Is that inherently illegal? Yes or no? The only thing I can think of is that there's some other element to a nonprofit operating that might hit upon some other kind of legal precedent. You know, a nonprofit organization versus a private individual. Besides, because if they're going back to an 1866 law on contracts and testifying in cases and suing and things, I don't see how that fits. But again, I'm just a layman. I'm not a legal expert or scholar. So as things stand right now, I don't think the Fearless Fund is breaking the law. I think the Fearless Fund is a unapologetically racist organization, but I don't think they're breaking the law. But I guess that's going to be played out in the courts. So there you go. Little video from CBS Good Morning, or This Morning, or whatever it's called. And an article, again, provided, thankfully, by Frosted Glass on someone else trying to square the circle of saying the Fearless Fund is a good thing because of those colorblind racists or something. Yeah, relatively short show today, but I'll take a moment here to get some comments from you guys before my voice completely gives out. USP 211 816. I have found if you have an issue with a bank, you can just go to another branch of the same bank and not have that issue. It's weird. I mean, yeah, the person you go to at the first bank, maybe they're racist. Who knows? And or maybe their standards or their whatever are too strict. Or you can find somebody who's more sympathetic somewhere else. Hey. Always get a second opinion, as it were. Frosted Glass. This lady's going for gold in mental gymnastics Olympics, and I'm here for it. Yeah, that was something else. That was hurt my brain reading some of those sentences and notions from one line to the next. Meh. Watch the same outcome if they use blind applications. It's possible. It's possible. And here's the part of those statistics they didn't talk about. It's like, well, okay, if they didn't get future financial investment, why? Was it because their track record as a business didn't show them to be a valuable investment for the bank? There's so many other questions and so many other factors to be asked about those statistics regarding, oh, well, this demographic doesn't get funded that much. Just because of race, just because of gender? In this day and age, especially post-George Floyd, you think any banking institution wants to be caught actually discriminating against someone on the basis of their race in a provable fashion? Even if they're doing it otherwise, man, the DEI programs in banks, I looked at Citibank on that. I should check some DEI programs in some other banking institutions, see what they have to say, just for the PR sake. Let's see. Advocast Diaboli. The precedent for the Fearless Fund has been set by the people on their own side suing anything for a specific demographic so they could get in. Sure. Well, I mean, again, racial discrimination is racial discrimination, no matter how much you slice it. Even if one racial demographic is population density wise larger than another, discriminating against the larger population demographic doesn't make it okay. This is the part, you see, this is why they conflate the idea of white supremacy as a philosophy versus white supremacy in the sense of population statistics. Right. White supremacy in population is now equated to the white supremacist philosophy. Both have to be defeated. And we're going to arrange everything as much as possible to make that happen, I guess. It's something else. Let's see. Shadowclaw, Scribelight, did you see Dogcat Fox? I figured you need a palate cleanser. Oh, did I miss something? I'm sorry. I must have. Hold on a second here. Hold on a second. I might have gotten too caught up in the articles and things. Oh, Shadowclaw, I apologize. Shadowclaw, thank you so much. Apologies for missing that. It got by me. The chat must have moved it out of the way. For the, lovely, friendly, happy #1 Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox.
Wowie, wow, wow.
That was a Lyot Fox. Wowie, wow, wow, Dogcat Fox. Thank you so much, Shadowclaw. Apologies for that. Didn't mean to miss it, but obviously I did. So I got that fixed. Let me find it again so I can take it off the screen. There we go. Okay. Thank you, Shadowclaw. Apologies. Let's see. Anything else? Keldrig, he of the new wrench. Colorblind racists at this time of year in this part of the country, entirely localized in your kitchen? Can I see it? Simpsons did it. All right. Well, everybody, before my voice gives out entirely, I'm going to call it here. A relatively short Sunday stream, but just a little follow-up, a little addendum to yesterday's video. Yes, I did actually publish a video where I put a soundtrack in it and everything and edited some ums and ers out to make it more palatable for the listening audience. If you want to take a look at that, it apparently resulted in my losing or being blocked by my very first follower on Twitter, which I'm kind of sad about. I meant no harm, nor offense to my first follower, but them's the breaks in the world we live in. But yeah, let me know what you think about this subject in the comments below. Do you think the Fearless Fund is operating illegally? Do you think they're operating unethically? Do you think they're operating both? Do you think they have a case? Do you think Edward Bloom has a case? Let me know in the comments below. Also, a note, programming note, next Thursday for TED Excellence. Now, next Thursday is the State of the Union speech by President Joe Biden, and it happens to begin exactly at the time that I would usually do TED Excellence at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And so I am considering doing TED Excellence earlier in the day next Thursday to try to avoid it, because I want to watch the State of the Union, and possibly, I don't know what other plans Monkey or other people might have. There might be some kind of watch parties or something I might be able to join in on to do so. So I don't have a time set yet, but as soon as I do, I'll put it out on Twitter or X and let you know. But yeah, do anticipate that next week's TED Excellence may be taking place a couple of hours earlier than usual to make time for the State of the Union address. Also, before I completely shut things down, I should give you guys a link to the Discord server. If you're not already a member of the Discord server, all you have to do is click on the link I just put into the chat, and you'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you also have to give me the secret word. And the secret word for today's show is Tyr Alexander's birthday. Yes, that's the secret word. All you have to do is just say, hello, Tyr Alexander's birthday. And not only will you be letting me know that you watch the show, but you'll also be wishing Tyr Alexander a happy birthday, because apparently he wants a birthday song. All right. Well, I mean, if you do want a birthday song from me with my voice and my throat the way it is, you asked for it. So, Tyr Alexander, the Gentleman Lich, apparently it's your birthday. And this is what we do around here for that. And a 1 and a 2. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tyr Alexander the Gentleman Lich. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Tyr Alexander. Hope you're having a good one. Hope you enjoy the rest of your special day. And with that, everyone, I want to thank you again for joining me for this Sunday stream. Again, leave a like on the way out if you would. Share stuff around if you like this kind of thing, and especially any content creator that you happen to like. Let people know that their stuff exists, because you guys really are our best algorithm. And if you share my stuff out specifically on X, do remember to tag me in your tweet or your Xing, whatever they call it now. So I'll know that you did so I can thank you personally, because I do appreciate it. Everybody who donated, either to myself or to the GoFundMes I completely forgot to mention at the top of the show, for Moonshock, James Colley, Angela Ariaga, and Grizilla. Thank you guys so much for your generosity. Really do appreciate it. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. I'm getting everything messed up today. I'm a little off kilter. And with that, I hope you all have a good rest of your Sunday and weekend. I hope you have a good week ahead of you. I hope you're all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.